Here's what happened. Yesterday, did 6 jumping jacks before going to bed. I call it the push start technique. I've talked about it before here, which is an activity that you do before going to bed that is energizing for the body, which is nice if you're feeling really defeated in the day. Because you get to remember that being the last thing before going to sleep. And then you sleep on that for however many hours. You wake up the next morning. It's a little bit easier to get out of bed and get after it for the responsibilities and tasks that you got to get done. Before doing those jumping jacks, I had that moment of resistance that came up. I was hanging out on the couch. My life partner and I, we were both watching this new show. I don't know the exact title, but it's like vampires. It's not Twilight, no, but it's like vampires and Discovery of Witches. I think that's it. Great show. I really like it. We were watching it, and then it's like time to go to bed, and there's that natural resistance of like, shit, I don't want to go. I don't want to have to go do this push start right now. But there's that other part of me that remembers the long-term game I'm playing, which is to optimize my health. And this is going to help me for that momentum going into now today. What I want to share with you is that you don't always have to like yourself. What matters is remembering the long-term game here and knowing that you can move through this resistance that comes up. And even though you don't like it, you can still show up for these habits that are there to energize you to win back your energy. This is Make Burnout Extinct. I'm Robert David Weeks. Thank you for taking the time to be here. I know you could be doing a bunch of different stuff, a lot of responsibilities that could be coming up for you and distractions. So you being here, that does say something. And I know that can be on repeat with this, but it's so important to remember with all this shit that you've dealt with to get to this point right now, and then potentially all this other shit that you got to deal with today and putting out the fires and the challenges that are coming up. Now what we're going to do is get present. And I'm excited to deliver for you too. So let's take a deep inhale through the nose. Get settled in. Oh, yeah. If you want to stretch it out, you can. On the exhale, release it out through the mouth. Oh, yeah. Oh, man, that's always fun to do. Welcome back. And if you're new here, welcome. If you haven't done it yet, you can subscribe and follow the show for the latest episodes. I have a few commitments we're going to get into. These are the fun ones here. 2 commitments. The first one is to continue to grow this show and this movement that's being built around this one mission to make burnout extinct. It fires me up. I'm thinking back, it has been over 7 months now since the launch of the show, and it fires me up for the momentum that is happening with this movement. And it's a reminder for you that by you subscribing and following, it helps to continue to grow the show and get this mission out to more people of Make Burnout Extinct. The other commitment I have for you is to be honest with you, to share the full experience of what it takes to make burnout extinct, to set those expectations for you so you know what to prepare for to the best of my ability. Leading up to my burnout in 2018, I lied a lot before I hit my burnout after that social media conference where 500 people came together. I thought I had to be perfect. I talked about that in the last convo about overthinking, the feeling of overthinking every single word. And it's this feeling I had of having to be perfect in what I was sharing and how I was communicating with my team and the community as a whole. What happened though was it built this pressure and this tension inside of me, which just created this immense weight is what it felt like on the shoulders, where I couldn't really tell people all the mistakes I was making. And then unnecessary suffering resulted from that I wouldn't want anyone to go through. So for you, I want you to know that my commitment is to be honest with you. Honesty is such an important value of mine now, to the best of my ability to share with you what it's going to take, because it's not just the results, which in the 3 simplest form is to feel more energized in your day, to feel excited for that momentum that you're building towards the vision you have for your life and who it is you want to become, feeling that aliveness rather than like going through your motions of your day. It's all that, and it's the hard work. It's putting in the reps. It's showing up when you get off track, honoring all those feelings and emotions that can come up, and then getting back on track. It's all of that stuff in order to make burnout extinct. And what I want to tell you is it absolutely is possible for you to make burnout extinct by recognizing those signals from the body, making them the changes to your behavior and to your habits in your day. So thank you for being here, for being a part of this movement. Let's get into it for today. Today, what I want to talk about is when you don't like yourself. Somehow, I think back to as an entrepreneur, when I first started as an entrepreneur in back in 2014, and my personal growth journey at the same time happened around there. Through those years, I got this message. I don't really know exactly when it hit me. I'm trying to think when it happened. There's probably multiple moments where I got the messaging of I'm not supposed to not like myself. Like I'm always supposed to like myself. I'm always supposed to be in positive mode. And any of these negative thoughts that come up, I have to ignore them, suppress them, push them down, try to not accept them. The issue that can come with that for me was then it causes me to disconnect from my emotions and from what I really want out of life because I don't know what that is because I'm not feeling all the different emotions that can bubble up. This is where you can get into other activities to try to distract yourself. I think about watching shows and movies to try to distract myself from the tornado thoughts and then the emotions that are bubbling up inside of me. But what I want to tell you is that you don't have to always like yourself in order to win back your energy. To rely just on feeling like doing things and liking yourself, especially if you're in a situation right now, if that's financially it's struggling right now with the business, or you're having to deal with all these different challenges in the teams within your business, if you're having to navigate just like, is this going to work or not? There can be a lot of moments that come up where you don't like yourself and the actions that you're taking. That's different from loving yourself. And that's an important distinction I want to start with for you is that what matters is instead loving yourself, of knowing that where you're headed in the long term, for the long-term game that you're playing to optimize your health, you're going to have a few bumps along the way. And there are going to be plenty of days where you're not going to feel like it to show up for your habits. You will get off track and miss certain days for these habits, but it comes back to remembering that you can always get back on track and you can push through on certain days and show up for these habits. And why I'm saying the habits is because how you make burnout extinct is relatively simple. It doesn't mean it's always easy, but what it is having more energizing habits, which I call burnout proof habits, than draining habits in your life. And that's it. That's what makes burnout extinct. That is where you're able to connect to this aliveness of life, to feel that momentum towards the vision you have for your life, that excitement that can build because of it, feeling energized in your day. I mean, that's at the core of it. Now, with the habits, it could be from external influences that are coming in, the information that we're receiving and noticing, and how we're moving through our different environments, as well as the internal influences that come up, the tornado thoughts I call them, these thoughts that can just whirl around and create these different scenarios in your mind. And that's where we can try to distract ourselves. The thoughts of not liking ourselves can pop up in this area, and then it bubbles up within the body for emotions that then we can feel, this anger, frustration, guilt, shame, excitement, joy, like all those different emotions, is everything for the human experience. So having these emotions are natural. And that comes back to then not liking yourself. I think about that as a relationship goes. If you're with a person, I think about that. If you're with a person 24/7, 365, living in the same place, don't you think you're going to not like each other? Right? Like, I know you want to be perfect and think it's going to be all perfect and amazing. I've seen so many romantic romance movies, but it's not the truth. Like, come on. Like, let's realize what's going on here is that you will have these moments where you won't like yourself. That doesn't mean it's wrong or bad. It's just understanding what is the message that is coming up for you in that. Going back to what I talked about earlier, like yesterday, before going to bed, I did those 6 jumping jacks to feel energized. I didn't feel like doing that at the beginning. That created friction for me. Therefore, I didn't like myself of having to feel what it felt like was forcing myself. What is helpful for the reframe is, instead of thinking it's forcing myself, it's understanding that I'm in this battle with the burnout beast. I'm in this battle with something that's going to try to pull me back to my old ways and my old habits. But that doesn't mean it's my body is the battle with my body. It's actually remembering my body's on my team. So with that resistance that can come up, it's a reminder of, why am I resisting this? Well, most of the day yesterday, I was in the habit of rest, of not creating a lot of movement. For me, it was to be able to recover from like the intense amount of work that's been happening in the business. So that's how then I was able to look at it of, oh no, it's just been a pattern today of me hanging out on the couch, watching my shows. And so to switch that pattern up, that's going to create friction and a natural, I don't want to do this because I've been doing something else for so long. So then, of course, I'm in that moment not going to like myself. But it's like that little kid having a tantrum. Like they're gonna have the tantrum and then they're gonna get over it. Maybe it's gonna take a little while, but like in this instance, like I'm gonna get over it pretty quick once I'm starting to do the jumping jacks and literally producing energy in the body. That then I can take that energy, sleep on that, next morning, wake up, get after it for the day and make it a little bit easier. So now what I want to do is share with you some simple strategies. Because to think that you're going to be perfect and to think that you're supposed to wait for when you like yourself to show up and put the reps in for these habits that I call the burnout proof habits that are there to energize you, you're going to be waiting a long time. If you're in a bad situation financially, where you're really struggling to pay your bills, of course it's natural to not like yourself and the situation that you're in. You can use that as fuel for that pain to get out of it. If you're not liking the way you're looking in the mirror, it's natural for you to not like yourself in that moment. It doesn't mean that you don't love yourself. It's actually by accepting all these emotions that bubble up, you can get the message in that of like, okay, no, I can do this. Like I can make these changes. And if I don't like the situation that I'm in, let me then move with action and to make those changes. Where the issue comes up is trying to put so much energy and effort towards creating these scenarios in our mind and like these mental gymnastics to try to justify what's going on right now so we don't feel like we're going crazy or insane. But the issue is you then stay stuck. You have that fear that takes over, where you're not able to courageously honor and accept where you're at right now, which is, you have these habits that you're really struggling with for your health. It's honoring where you're at, accepting that, taking accountability for that, which I know how hard that can be because we have this messaging that is out there online and in person at times to like be the victim. We want the attention, you want attention. You can have that victim mentality. I'm excited to notice the trend that people are getting tired of that because what happens is it keeps you stuck. It is an and where there's empathy from others. That's so important. I believe in supporting others and being there for other people. I mean, hell, that's why I do this thing for you. The other part of that is self-accountability. I go back to this quote from John Butcher, which is so powerful that taking 100% accountability for your life is one of the scariest and most rewarding things that you can do for yourself. It is so true. There's that part of accountability in this. So remembering that in those moments where that friction comes up, to realize that that's going to be natural. Now, what do you do? One strategy is going back to your habits, because again, you have a lot of challenges going on with work, with the business. You have a lot going on and it can be easy to just stick to the same things. Going back to the rest day of just staying in rest mode and lounging and hanging out and not doing anything. But I wanted to make sure I started the momentum last night for today. And that's where the push start came in. So for all these habits, it's remembering flexibility is really important. Flexibility in your habits. There are going to be some days where you aren't going to be as excited to go and put the rep in for going out for a morning walk, or if that is taking time to journal, if that is staying hydrated, if that is figuring out what you're going to get done in the day, if that is making sure that you're getting foods that are energizing for yourself. Whatever it is, it's remembering flexibility. And I'll go with movement. It's probably the easiest example to share with you. So going out for a walk, like I like to do that, go out for a walk. If I only have 30 minutes today, and usually I have like an hour to go out for a walk, then do the 30 minutes. But you could have a day where you really struggle, where you can only get out for 5 minutes. So what you can try is, shared it here before, is the at least technique. Giving yourself at least a minimum to create to start the momentum and create the movement. That looks like, for me, starting small, saying, okay, today at least I'm going to get outside for 5 minutes. If this is a new habit, do that. And then if you have 30 minutes, you could stay out there for the other 25 minutes. But for the mind, what happens is that it creates it's creating less of a big deal for a habit. It doesn't feel like this mountain that you have to climb. So then you're able to create that momentum and start moving forward. What happens is then you feel energized once you go out for the walk. If this is a habit that is energizing for you, by doing it, you're going to feel energized. Therefore, the feeling that you don't like yourself is going to pass. It goes back to, this is temporary. Like, where you start isn't going to be where you end up. So as you go through it and you go after that time, that's the flexibility, is you're giving yourself flexibility. Maybe you only have a minute in the day. It's better than no minutes. Like, still go out there. You may think it's silly, but you're remembering, going back to what matters, the long game that you're playing, the long-term game you're playing. This action that you're doing for these habits are moments to love yourself, to optimize your health and take care of you, to help you to recharge and feel energized so that you can go out there and support all the other people, support the business that you're building. Like, it's such a way to tap into more of your potential and to share that, is the flexibility. The other one is flexibility in either the time of the habit or flexibility of when you're doing the habit in the day. So if you only have, with the morning walk, I've talked about this before with flexibility, if you can't do it in the morning because you have an unexpected challenge that comes up with the business, you can move it. See if you have time in the afternoon or at night. What's awesome is, the more you get better at this, the more adaptable you're going to be with any challenges that come your way. And that helps you to put in more reps for these habits, which helps you with the consistency. And as you move these habits through the 3 phases of the habit formation process, you're going to then move it into what I call the autopilot phase, where it then becomes less effort required to show up and put the rep in for the habit. It becomes you're not having as much energy and conscious effort towards this. It's like brushing your teeth. It's kind of just like, you just do it. It's the best habit example I can share with you. But you've got to move through these phases, which, again, for the 3 habit formation process phases, the first one is the awkward phase. Then you have the angry phase where you have that natural resistance, and then you move it into the autopilot phase. And you have to go through that a few times for that cycle. It's different for everyone, for how many cycles you go through for the habit to then spend the majority of the time in the autopilot phase. But consistency is what you got to always come back to. And it's a reminder for you that you're not going to be perfect. You're going to have those days where you get off track. But flexibility is so great to hold on to with this, to help you to move forward in that process. So you have flexibility is one, and the at least technique is super helpful in this. The other thing to remember when you're first starting off with a new habit is identifying, after you put the rep in for your habits, do you know, or for that specific habit, do you notice you feeling energized? It's checking back in with your body, of noticing the difference, because then it helps you to recognize that you don't take it on as something that's so personal for you. Because if you just know that you're not going to like yourself at the beginning of putting the rep in, but then by the end of it, you're liking yourself and you're actually very grateful that you did that, you feel energized, then the next time it happens, you know what to prepare for the pattern. I always say that there are patterns that the body's presenting to you. You have to recognize what those patterns are. You can think about them as signals as well, and then make those changes by getting the message that's coming through to your behaviors, to your habits. And that's so important for making burnout extinct in your life and avoiding burnout, because your body will tell you when you're headed towards hitting burnout. It'll tell you when you're feeling exhausted. And I think about that for the first red flag of burnout, which is chronic exhaustion. It will then let you know when you're feeling that negativity, which is the second red flag. And again, these are generic red flags I've gone through before. And then the third one, where you're not showing up, if that's in the business, not showing up for your health, not showing up for your relationships. Your body's letting you know these signals. It's for you to not suppress it and to accept it. And when you are trying to always like yourself, there can be this thing that happens that I actually heard about it today on Joe Rogan podcast with Elon Musk, where they talk about weaponizing empathy. They were talking about it in a different context, but what I want to bring into it is actually with you, weaponizing empathy. There can be a strong pull and desire to avoid the pain and move towards pleasure. So what can happen is you want to empathize then with like, I don't have to deal with the pain of not liking myself. And so I'm going to push down that feeling and suppress it. The issue is the body is just going to store it somewhere because it hasn't been released. And that's going to start to build in the body. And the more you do that, the more it builds. Because of course we don't want people to not like us. Like I think about that. Like you can, if you haven't worked through this, there can be the big desire, especially in the people pleasing side of it, which I can relate to want people to like you. It's better for business. It's better for your overall well-being, for people to like you, but you're a part of the group, that part of that tribe and the community. So your survival really taps into the human instinct of survival. So it is a great strategy, but it can also be used in a way that can be weaponized within us for that empathy of then, because of the modern comforts that we have today, it's easy to not show up and go out and do the jumping jacks. It's easy to not go out for that walk and just sit on the couch and hang out. It's easy to not actually follow through on eating foods that are energizing for you because you have other foods that are draining for you that are easy access. And it's easy to avoid the water because you've got so much shit going on with work that you can't even think about staying hydrated because you're trying to move through all this stuff. So it is hard, but the more reps you put in, the easier it can get with these burnout-proof habits. And that's so important to remember for yourself as you go on along in this journey. And what will happen is you'll be able to start to build that trust with the body. When you can accept all the different emotions that come up, honor them. And another way that you can do that is body scan. We'll take just a minute to go through this for the body scan after. Is a way to lean in, lean out. It's that technique. When you can honor all the emotions and tensions that can come up, what happens is then you're able to release the stress out of the body. You're able to release that pressure out of the body, the tension out of the body, because the body is like a balloon. It can fill up with a capacity, a certain amount of stress, a certain amount of the overwhelm, a certain amount of the anxiety, so a certain amount of the I don't like myself right now, that tantrum vibe. It can, but like a balloon, if the air isn't released out of the balloon's going to pop. And for the body, if all that stress, pressure, tension is not released out of the body, eventually you're going to hit burnout, which how I define it is a major life transition that is forced on you by your body. This is where it's so hard to even get out of bed. This is where you may have to close down the business. It goes back to my story after the social media conference where I wasn't able to do year 2 because I was emotionally, physically exhausted, and I was in so much debt too with that I had to figure out. And this is stuff I don't want for you. I want you to be able to remember that you can show up for yourself, even in those moments when you don't like yourself. And that's going to create then the momentum to get out of the situation that you're in right now with all those different challenges that are coming up for you. You can make a change here. And it comes back to reminding yourself you are the captain of the ship. I know that may seem like ridiculous to think about, but you do play a part in this. So what I want to do now is like go through a quick body scan. So you to be able to feel these different emotions that be coming up for you right now. Because when you can honor them and get the message and what this is in the emotions of what they're trying to tell you, then you can release them out. So what you can do is keep your eyes open. If you're driving, I think about that for driving or outside. But what you can do is take a deep inhale through the nose and exhale through the mouth. Get settled in. What I want to do is bring our awareness on up to our head. I've done this body scan a few times now, and this is a really important burnout-proof habit for me. And it could be one that you could apply to for yourself. It's noticing what's going on up in your head. Do you notice any tingles, any tensions? Is there nothing up there right now? Any pressure? Just honor it and realize that this is natural to feel. Absolutely natural. It doesn't have to be something super scary. It's just this is a part of life. But if you're unfamiliar with it, it can feel scary. It goes back to the more you understand, less fear can grow. And so let's bring our awareness on down to our jaws. Or even yawn a little bit. Oh, yeah. Wiggle your nose. Bring it on down to your neck, throat. And we're just going to get settled right here in the heart. And what you can do is just put your hand on your heart, one hand on the heart, other hand on the heart. Don't worry. You got this. You can do it. If you feel self-conscious, you're like, I don't want people to see me right now, then make sure you're in a space that you feel comfortable being able to do this. And just breathe. Take a deep breath in and out. And remember that there is nearly 40 trillion cells that are doing their damn thing to keep you moving and grooving in life. And connecting. Now what you can do is take another deep breath in, breathe in, and then release on out. So to recap for you, is remembering that it is natural for you to not always like yourself when you are focused on winning back your energy. You're not always going to feel like it when you put a rep in for your habits. That does not have to stop you. You will have the days where you get off track. It's honoring those. But the way that you can stay and get back on track is starting small. Be flexible with your time. If you usually do a 30-minute walk, but you can't do that, do the 5-minute walk. That still counts. The body, what it cares about is the consistency. It doesn't care about you keeping the same time or perfection, because again, perfection doesn't exist. It just cares of the consistency. And again, perfection doesn't mean every single day either. You got to remember that. And so it's that flexibility of time for the 5 minutes, if it's 30, or in the day. If you only have time for movement in the evening or at night before going to bed, and you don't have it in the morning, create some sort of movement in the house. If you usually go outside and you can only go inside, all right, make it happen inside. That's okay. We create this pressure that we have to do the same thing. But actually what happens is it adds variety in our life too. That's a way you can look at it too for a reframe. Then it's remembering what matters, which is what matters is accepting all these emotions that can come up in the body, understanding that they're natural, accepting them, and then building the trust of listening to what these emotions are trying to tell you. And that builds trust within the body that then grows this confidence within us to know that you can handle any of these challenges that are going to come your way. Because you have this deep level of connection with your body that then is where the love and the loving yourself is so important. Because in a relationship, there are moments we don't like the other person. That happens, but the love is still there. And that's what to remember for you and your body, that you're on the same team and you're battling out the burnout beast to win back your energy and to feeling more energized than drained in your life. And I want to tell you, you haven't heard it yet today, I believe in you. You absolutely have the capabilities as a human being to make this happen for yourself, to listen to those signals from the body and make those changes to your behavior and to your habits in your day to make burnout extinct. It is possible for you. And you got this.